What about Manchester City? Well, of course, they're the other English team trying to make signings before the deadline this evening, because they are, of course, at the Club World Cup as well. Let's go to the Etihad. Our reporter, Sani Rudravajula, is there for us. Sani, City fans getting a bit twitchy. Are they going to get these over the line?
Yeah, the clock is ticking. The day started with Manchester City announcing actually they've got a new shirt for the Club World Cup, a white shirt with a sash. And since then, we've been waiting on news of signings. Who do we know who has signed? Well, we had Rayan Nouri announced that yesterday from Wolverhampton Wanderers, left back, so that frees up Nico O'Reilly to play in midfield. It frees up Josko Vardiol to go back into the middle. Today, so far, confirmed, Marcus Bettinelli signed a one-year deal from Chelsea. We'll remember him from his time at Fulham, where he was number one there for a period, but he'll be coming in to replace Scott Carson, who's left. So they've got a third-choice goalie in, so competition for Ortega and Ederson, but primarily in the back room, kind of helping out with the club. Backroom staff-wise, Pep Reijnders has signed as Pep's new assistant manager for Manchester City. We'll know him from his time at Liverpool, where he was Jurgen Klopp's right-hand man. When Klopp left Liverpool, he went and became a manager in his own right at RB Salzburg. That then didn't quite work out for him, and he left by December after joining in the summer. So as far as who's trying to join and who has joined, that's where we're up to. But the signings we're waiting on now, Tijjani Reijnders of AC Milan, central midfielder. That deal has been agreed but yet to go through. 26-year-old Dutchman. Good, take on a shot from distance. Serie A midfielder of the year for this season, even though AC Milan finished 8th in the table. And the other one we're waiting on as well, Rayan Cherki, right winger for Lyon. 20 assists for them this season in Ligue 1 and in the Europa League. Brilliant volleyed goal on his debut for France as well. Those two signings, if they're going to happen in time for the Club World Cup group stage, which kick off in 8 days, they've got to be done by 7 o'clock. So new faces have come in. We're still waiting on a few deals that we know have been agreed, have yet to be formally announced. And we're waiting here till 7, and maybe even later if that's what it takes.
Yeah, Sani, thank you. Yeah, they've got an hour and 42 minutes. Get on with it, City. Put us in the player's head now, Dean. You want to go to the Club World Cup. You want to join Manchester City. What are you going through? As Sani said, the clock is ticking towards this deadline.
I think it depends what type of player you are and type of person you are, because as we saw a little bit with Trent Alexander-Arnold, you want everything. You want to have that relationship with your own fans at the club that you're at, but you might secretly really want the move. So you pass it straight over to your agent and just say, you deal with it all. I'll keep telling you that I want the move. Try and get it through. That's not to say I'm putting words in their mouth, but yeah, having had the experience, I'm going, I want the move. And it could be a huge move for them both in terms of what they could win with that new club, financially, what that package could mean for you and your family. So if you want that move, you're pushing your agent to make that happen. The club that are buying are pushing your agent, for me as the player, to probably say something to make that easier. How
difficult is that for you as a player, stuck in the middle like that?
It's very difficult because you want to keep the peace, and you will have a great relationship with the club's fans that you're currently at. And like I said, we want everything. We want that relationship to stay intact, but we also maybe want the move. So we tend to stay quiet. There's only a few that will jump out and maybe put in a transfer request or voice their feelings, but they're quite few and far between.
This whole City rebuild is really interesting to me, though, because you've got a situation where back in January they look like they're starting it. They spent over £125 million on 3 players. They look like they're doing it again with another £150 million as well. Pep Guardiola recently signed a contract extension to 2027. Are these signings, do you think, him maybe even looking further than 2027? And could we see a possibility where Pep Guardiola even further extends his stay because he sees all of these young players who might be coming together in this season, and he might not be able to see that whole rebuild out if he was to go when he says he is?
Yeah, I think so, because I think it's the one thing we maybe haven't seen in his managerial career, is that full rebuild of a squad and churn over of players, top quality players that have maybe just dipped in their performances. And it was so obvious, and I just think that the business they've done is so positive in those areas that were clear to see that the energy in midfield had been lost, some of the quality as well, and they've just proactively gone, and surely he's a big part of that, and he's then going to utilise those players. I think it's slightly scary almost for the rest of the Premier League that they're already doing this amount of business so soon.
And also, it sort of shows how seriously Manchester City are taking the Club World Cup, because don't forget, they are the reigning world champions. And whoever wins this Club World Cup for the next 4 years, you can wear a badge on your shirt to say you're the world champions. The last Club World Cup, which was the old version, which was just 10 days or so in Saudi Arabia, Pep Guardiola was really focused on winning that. That meant a lot to him. He really wanted to make Manchester City world champions. This time round, I think when he's talked about this expanded month-long Club World Cup, he's been not dismissive, but I think he's had some concerns about player burnout, and he seemed to suggest that maybe it would be a little holiday for the players as well. I think Manchester City are staying in Palm Beach, one of the best locations you can stay at in the US during the summer. But when you look at the transfer business they've done, you think actually they're really, really serious about retaining this trophy and being able to have that World Champions badge on their shirts for another 4 years.
Do you think City want to win it, given there's, 100 million you can win if you win it?
Yeah, I think if you win it, you make an extra 100 million, which in this day and age, this age of FFP and PSR, where it's all about trying to maximise your revenues, Chelsea and Manchester City have got this incredible opportunity to earn an extra £100 million, which none of their other rivals in the Premier League can.
So that said, despite the fact they're in Palm Beach, are they in it to win it?
Oh, very much so, and I'm sure that that'll be the message behind the scenes. And when you've got that fresh influx of players to give the current players a bit of kick up the backside, and also that ultimately they are playing you can't buy history, and they are playing catch up in terms of that global look of the football club and the revenue that they can bring in, and this can be a big part of that. Of almost showing off Manchester City, what they've become, the powerhouse that they've started to become, certainly in England and beyond.
Andy, tell us about Rayan Cherki. How good is he?
Well, I think a lot of the way that the deal has come together can tell you about the progress he's made in the last year. Because if you remember at the back end of last season's transfer, or last summer's transfer window, Mike, you had Crystal Palace and Fulham being offered him for 15 million euros. Now he's gone to City for nearly 3 times that, despite the fact his contractual situation has not really changed. The talent has been there since he's 15, 16, it's been clear. And for someone at his age, he's only 21, to have played that many first games, played well over 100 first-team games for Lyon, shows you that they're getting someone very experienced. But what they've got is someone who last summer was considered a great talent, is now a great player. And there's a big definition there, because Cherki always had it all. He could nutmeg you in a phone box, 2 great feet, super delivery, could go around any player you like, but now he's put that all together in the context of being a footballing adult almost. So the bit where he didn't get the move that he wanted last summer, and he thought he would go to PSG or Dortmund actually next summer. Dortmund had another go for him in January, and that didn't happen, and all of a sudden they were trying to foist him to clubs who are maybe not so glamorous in the Premier League, with all due respect to Palace and Fulham. I think it made him knuckle down and think, right, okay, I've got to start playing a little bit more realistically now. He's far better in knowing when to keep the ball and when to release the ball. He doesn't dribble for the sake of it. You look at the fact he's got 11 goals and 20 assists last season, shows you just what bang you're getting for your buck. I think City are getting him at absolutely the right time.
Are Liverpool going to get Florian Wirtz at the right time? They're going to have to pay well over £100 million. Is he worth that?
Yeah, he absolutely is worth that. I think he's one of the best midfield players in Europe. Again, you look at the age and you're getting 10 years service out of him, notwithstanding any possible injuries or whatever. And I remember speaking to Xabi Alonso about him last season, and him saying, well, look, everyone is trusted in this team to fulfil their role, but has to fulfil their role within the tactical setup. Whereas he said Flo gets a little bit more of a pass because I trust him to be able to do stuff in the right places at the right time. He gets that little bit of extra freedom. Now, it's fascinating to me because you don't really get many number 10s in the Premier League. Someone like him, I think, really shows us that Arne Slot wants to develop Liverpool into more of his own team this season. So he gradually evolved it from the Jurgen Klopp model. Maybe they were a little bit more circumspect than Klopp to Liverpool the last season, and it really worked out for them. But Wirtz gives them loads more options because we've seen him play as a false 9, we've seen him play as a 10, we've seen him even for Germany in wider positions, cutting inside. But having that ability to drift where he wants, I think if you're looking at the fact that Liverpool maybe don't have the centre forward they want at the moment because they're not getting that out of Darwin, it maybe gives them a front three with a completely different shape. Maybe that turns into a front two, be it Salah and Gakpo, be it Diaz and Salah, whoever it might be. And it takes a lot of the creative load off Salah as well, so he can just score goals and maybe spare himself some of the other running that they don't want him to do so much as he's going into his 30s. But, he was one of the rare bright spots, Wirtz, for Germany during the Nations League as well. He's a great player for his country, so adaptable. I mean, he's costing a lot of money for a reason, but for them to get him to reject Bayern Munich, he obviously really believes in this move. It's just a matter of time before it happens.